Genesis Testament Volume 10 broke me. This is one of the most heartbreaking endings in the entire Toaru franchise. But at the same time, it's one of the best written volumes we've had in a long time. So I really want to talk about it in detail. In this review, I'm not going to talk straight away about the major plot spoilers, including the emotional moments. I'm going to try avoid spoilers as much as I can at the beginning. But at the same time, I will have to talk about the events of the previous volume to give you some context so you understand what the hell's going on, in case you haven't actually read any of this. You definitely should read the light novels if you haven't already. Trust me, they're great. Anyway, without further ado, let's discuss this absolutely insane volume of Index, which has left many of us scarred. We continue directly from the events of Genesis Testament Volume 9, as the villain of that volume, Christian Rosenkreuz, aka Johann Valentin Andre, has been defeated by Toma and Alistair, and also killed by Alice, who is now back and has replaced her head, which was missing since CRC did crush it with his bare hands. Anyway, she's back, but she's not quite the same Alice. She is in a very bad mental state. She's pretty much gone berserk in the city, with her and Trismegistus having kidnapped Index to use her grimoire, supposedly. Or is there another meaning to why they have kidnapped Index in particular? Could it be to lure Toma to their secret hideout, aka Toma's school, as that's where they've taken up residence, as I guess Alice really wanted to go to school? Why? Toma has quickly recovered in the hospital thanks to Heaven Chancellor's amazing medical skills, as Ophinis tells him about the situation with Index, prompting Toma to go to try and save her and also stop Alice's madness. To which Anna Sprengel, his newfound ally, advises him that she should go with him, since this is pretty much a suicide mission, since Alice is so goddamn strong that if you upset her just one time, she might just blow up the entire universe. Yeah, you should not give someone like Alice the power to basically cause an apocalypse. That's never a great idea. Meanwhile, Academy City is at chaos once again, as something known as acute Kotatsu syndrome has infected most of the residents of the city, causing them to dress up in strange quirky outfits, kinda like the Transcendents, and then they're just causing riots and mayhem all across the city, and this is thanks to Alice's influence. She's basically turning Academy City into her own version of Wonderland. As yes, the story of Alice in Wonderland does actually impact Genesis Testament 10's narrative, taking inspiration from a set of invisible lines which decide the fate of where the protagonist leads to. Meanwhile, you also have the Transcendents split, fighting amongst themselves, with those on Alice's side versus the ones on Toma's side. Everything is basically going to shit. So yeah, that's the basic plot of GT10. What did I think of it? Well, the volume actually starts off quite light-hearted, with some funny fanservice moments between Anna Sprengel and Toma, and Kamachi Kazuma being quite self-aware about how he handles character deaths, and that his dialogue during fanservice scenes is pretty unnatural. I did like the fact he's kind of poking fun at some of the criticisms of his novel, or at least that's how it appears to me. But the start of this volume definitely throws you into a false sense of security, as most of the volume has a really ominous and foreboding tone. It really does give you some chills at times, especially the creepy nature of Alice herself, who is one of the stars of the volume. Her and Toma especially blow this volume out of the park. The characterization of both Toma and Alice, amongst other characters, is at its best. It is absolutely incredible what Kamachi does with them. While Alice may seem like an innocent girl who simply doesn't understand the nature of her power, she is far more sinister than you could possibly imagine. And it's not entirely her own fault either, as we learn about her backstory and true nature in the volume. And my god, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I don't know, Alice might be in my top 10 Toaru characters of all time. Like, she's an incredible character, and I feel like she's one of the most unique Index characters at the same time. She's not really a villain or evil per se. Without spoiling too much, she's basically been molded into what she is, and it's not her fault for that either, making her kind of a tragic character as a result. Meanwhile, the main character, Kamijo Toma, once again, blows it out of the park. In GT9, we saw a dark twist to Toma's character, which I really appreciated, and he does feel a lot of guilt for that, and also believes he is somewhat responsible for Alice's downfall, causing him to try and make amends for what has happened. And I feel like we see Toma's true nature at the end of the volume. I feel like we got to see what Toma actually represents in the story, and it was a beautiful moment to witness. If you read it, you know what I'm talking about. While this volume does have some action in it, mainly with the Transcendents fighting amongst each other, it is not the main focus of the volume, as I feel like GT9 was pretty much action from start to finish. GT10 is more about the tone and characters. It goes really in-depth with both. It has one of the most chilling atmospheres in Index, and Kamachi's character work makes it much more compelling than some of the more boring action set pieces in GT9 at the beginning. And this volume does feel like it has actual consequences to it, which is much appreciated. There were also plenty of other stars in the volume, such as the two Annas, Aleister, and Trismegistus. While people may have thought from the summary that Index may have been more of an important character in this volume, she is pretty much a damsel in distress for the most part, although her being included is important for the story and Toma's character. But at the same time, I would have liked to have seen Index be more of a major player than she was. But that's a nitpick at best. Everything else I really enjoyed. Now, let's finally talk about what happened in this volume that was so devastating. Well, Toma's dead. I'm not joking. He's dead. I mean, it's not uncommon in Index to Toma to die, since he's died a few times in Genesis Testament, but good old Mary has revived him each of those times. And in the Ophinus arc, Ophinus was basically recreating the universe over and over again, so I guess there was a different Toma in every phase that she created, making it look like she was reviving him, so he wasn't truly dying even though he was. But this time, it's pretty much set up that Toma was destined to die since Genesis Testament Volume 5, where Toma rejected Alice's advances to accept her power to make everything go smoothly for him, basically giving him good luck and being able to solve problems quite easily. He rejected that because he was somewhat influenced by how he felt when Ophinus was tampering with the world, so he didn't want to go that route. But now he has faced the consequences of doing that. And good old Mary can't revive him this time because as Alice is much stronger than her, and she directly gets her power from Alice herself. So there is no way back, apparently, until we read the afterword. But let's talk about the death itself. How was it handled? So Toma goes down fighting. He manages to defeat Alice by punching her in the face. He basically says he doesn't wish anyone to suffer as much misfortune as he has done in his life. And I feel like that is what truly drives Toma's character in the entirety of Index. He lost his memories. He doesn't know who he truly is. He has embraced the mantle of what he believes Kamijo Toma is, trying to be the best person he can be. And at the same time, he's made mistakes. He's not flawless. And he kind of regrets some of the actions he has taken, especially in recent times with CRC, where he basically was willing to kill him directly, which we haven't really seen much from Toma, if at all, where he has pretty much abandoned his core philosophy. But I feel like this is him trying to rectify that. He has the option to use the Dragon Strike against Alice, which would have turned him directly into the monster we saw in the previous volume. But he denied that, because not only would it be futile since Alice could resurrect herself perhaps, but at the same time, he didn't want to lose himself once again. He wanted to stay true to who he was. And that's one of the reasons why Alice became obsessed with him, because he always saw himself as not needing her power, while everyone else wanted a portion of her power for themselves, or to save a group of people. And you may think, well, Aeon, we've seen him die many times before, what's the difference with this time? Well, I think the major difference is that it's been built up for the entirety of the volume, and the way Kamachi writes it into the story with Index is really well done in my opinion, and the most heartbreaking thing was seeing everyone's reaction to it. While brief, I think we saw Misaka scream a bit as she saw Toma's body be airlifted into the hospital, and Shokuho says she pretty much expected this to happen at some point because she knew that Toma couldn't keep getting away with getting into trouble like this, and eventually this would happen to him because of how reckless he actually is. Well, the worst reaction of all was Index's. Index is basically lost for words. She's covering her mouth, she's crying buckets of tears, and Kamachi says something like, because of her perfect memory, she would basically remember everything that Toma ever said and did. And that line broke me. That was heartbreaking. Like, seriously, Kudos to Kamachi. That was some, yeah, excellent bit of writing right there. That definitely made me feel feels. As yes, Heaven Chancellor was unable to save Terma this time, since he cannot resurrect the dead. However, all hope is not lost for Terma, as he basically wakes up in a world just covered in white. Kind of similar to the Black World in New Testament Volume 9, and I definitely think this is a homage to it. It definitely does feel that way. As George Lucas once said, it's like poetry, it rhymes. And I'm not sure what exactly this world is. I mean, sure, it's the afterlife, but we don't exactly know what the afterlife consists of in Index. Is it heaven, hell, purgatory, the pure world, the imaginary number school district? I'm curious to learn more about what the afterlife actually is, and I think in the next volume we definitely will. But Terma isn't alone, strangely, as Anna Kingsford, who is basically a revived corpse and also a cyborg, has the power to seemingly visit the afterlife herself, as she says to Terma that she will try her best to reward him since he doesn't deserve to die, and this will involve a hell tour of sorts, or a jailbreak. And does this mean that in the next volume we're going to get Dante's Inferno with Terma and Anna Kingsford? Are we going to get them exploring hell and meeting Lucifer? If so, my god, I really cannot wait for the next volume. I literally have no idea where the story is going to head from here, which makes it really exciting as a result. And apparently this can help Terma make a return. But it makes me think at the same time, what consequences are there going to be for this? Since I don't want Terma to get revived and everything is just going to be back to normal, there has to be some ramifications and change because of this. As if anyone can come back from the dead, it pretty much renders death null and void in this series more so than it actually already is. And Terma himself at the end of the volume, I think it's the last line, says, surely there's a catch to this. Like, he's suspicious himself about what Kingsford is saying. Therefore, I do honestly think that there will be more to it than simply just coming back like Jesus. But yeah, I want to talk about Alice once again, as we learn that Alice was actually Alice Liddell, which I did predict on Twitter, by the way. Alice Liddell was basically the girl that Lewis Carroll used as the inspiration for Alice in Wonderland, and that a teacher of Aleister Crowley then took a 50-year-old Alice Liddell and basically turned her into a child forever, giving her the power of the Secret Chiefs, molding the world entirely to what she desires, just like Wonderland. Basically, this teacher of Aleister did some really messed up stuff to both change her physically and also destroyed her mentally by completely erasing her personality. Like, Alice is one of the most messed up backstories in Index as a whole, and that's saying something. And her true nature is this animal, feral-like state, other than this portrayal of an innocent girl as she's appearing to be. And we do get to see this animalistic nature of the true Alice inside, as I think what Alice desires most is someone who challenges her, and also someone who actually cares about her truly inside. And the relationship Trismegistus has with Alice is also pretty strong in the volume, as we initially think that he wants to revive CRC because he's still after a savior who will save the world and unite the Transcendents, but I think what Trismegistus truly wants is what is best for Alice, as he switches sides to Thomas, which was a surprise admittedly, as usually he is the Transcendent who is most loyal to Alice, but I guess he realised that Alice was too far gone and that Toma could be the guy who he needs as the savior. Also, I've got to talk about Aleister Crowley and Accelerator. Aleister was very emotional in this volume, in terms of letting Anna Kingsford go away, as he pretty much thought she was going on a suicide mission to try and stop Alice. And Kingsford basically offers emotional support to many characters in this story, with her telling Aleister that he is the chance to change his life and become a better person. Meanwhile, Accelerator seems to be finally out the jail, as Trismegistus destroyed it, but at the same time, he apparently lost to random letters himself. Now that's embarrassing, not gonna lie. I would love to see Aleister and Accelerator team up in the next volume to see where the world will head after Terma's death, as I don't know if they will go after Alice or find out who the teacher of Crowley is. We'll have to wait and see, as if Alice is truly at peace now after fighting Terma, then I'm unsure what the next threats in the volume will be. if we are talking about the real world and not the afterlife, that is. Also, Anna Sprengel is a great character again in this volume. She has had a lot of character development since her debut in this story, as she has become a way better person than she was prior. And no doubt she will struggle without Toma, as she pretty much became attached to him after he helped protect her from CRC. Anyway, despite the volume being really sad, I think GT10 was incredible. I'm going to have to rate it a GT10 out of 10. Easily the best volume of GT so far. And let me know what you think will happen in the next volume. And check out the VOD of my GT10 podcast on screen right now if you want to see me, Mal, and Offness talk more in detail about the overall volume, as we discuss it in much more detail there. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.